4:36 a.m. Friday morning, a 5.2 magnitude earthquake woke many people across the St. Louis region. Farther south, closer to the epicenter, the earthquake disrupted a morning newscast in southern Indiana and northern Kentucky.
All right, we are experiencing shaking here right now in the studio. Perhaps a tremor of sorts. We aren't really sure. The whole studio is shaking. Kevin?
Yes, we're hearing some shaking here. It sounds like we have an earthquake here, so I'll have to check that out.
Depending on the location, the shaking lasted anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds. The earthquake originated just north of Belmont, Illinois, about 125 miles east of St. Louis. But the earthquake was felt as far north as Milwaukee and as far south as Georgia. The most visible damage was evident in Louisville, Kentucky, where the cornice work of a building crumbled and fell to the ground below. Closer to home, concrete fell off the 72-year-old Kings Highway viaduct between Shaw and Vanderbilt in South St. Louis, causing officials to close it for a time to inspect the bridge for safety. An aftershock followed at 10:14 a.m., rated at 4.5 magnitude. The earthquake didn't rouse many from their slumber at the dorms at SLU campus, but although family members did call to check up on them.
Well, I had just gotten home from work, and basically I woke up to my bed shaking. It was, didn't know what was going on at first, really didn't know what was going on. I was confused, but then I remembered I was in earthquakes class, and I was like, hey, it's an earthquake.
During the earthquake, I was asleep for the earthquake and the aftermath, and I didn't find out about it until my mom called and asked me about it. And then I was like, I have no idea. So,
Dr. Robert Herrmann, a geologist with SLU's Earth and Atmospheric Sciences, told me more about how this earthquake differentiates from earthquakes seen in California.
Well, earthquakes happen all the time, and most earthquakes are very, very small that no one would feel them.
Does this have any potential to in any way affect the New Madrid zone?
That's been the subject of major important discussions every year, and the consensus now is that what happens in the Wabash Valley is independent of what happens in the New Madrid.
Does this sort of quake differ in its origin than, say, one like the San Andreas?
Actually the earthquakes are very similar to what we would see on most of the San Andreas. What you have is a fault, which is sort of a little surface, a plane surface, and there's movement on the surface. And for this particular earthquake, the motion was essentially a pure horizontal motion on sort of this vertical fault line. And for most of the San Andreas fault, that's true. And one of the big differences is that the crust of the earth, the waves are generated by the earthquake. The earthquake is sort of like taking a stick and breaking it, and then the seismic waves will be hearing that, the sound waves that come out. The waves propagate much more efficiently here in North America. The earthquake was felt is vastly greater than the area of the corresponding area in California. Elements in it. One of which, given the earthquake of a certain size, a certain magnitude, how does the ground motion get from the earthquake to the site?
Right.
Then there's the next question of how often do those earthquakes occur? And then finally, how big can those earthquakes be? The fact that our department is here, that we've been studying seismology or earthquakes for 100 years, is most likely related to the fact that we had the big earthquakes in 1811, 1812. We still have earthquakes, and this is still a problem that's not really solved, and every time there is an earthquake, we learn more.
Reporting from outside the St. Louis University Earthquake Center, Kareem Johnson, News 22.